I never thought a small creek behind my house would end up destroying the entire HOA president's little empire, but that's exactly what happened. One morning I woke up and the stream that had been part of my life, part of my backyard, was gone, buried alive under tons of gravel. Karen, our HOA president, stood there smiling like a conqueror, convinced she'd won. What she didn't realize was by killing my creek, she had just cut off the water supply for the whole neighborhood. When I first moved into Maplewood Estates, I thought I'd found the perfect place. I had a modest house, a backyard, and that creek narrow but steady trickling in the background like nature's own soundtrack. It reminded me of skipping rocks with my dad, of camping trips, of something pure I could hold on to while juggling bills and deadlines. But Karen, she hated it. She'd been HOA president for 7 years, not because people wanted her there, but because she scared off anyone who thought about running. She ruled the board like a dictator with a clipboard. And to her, my creek was ugly, a hazard, an embarrassment to her picture-perfect neighborhood. The first time she complained, it was at a barbecue. She leaned in with that glass-cutting smile and said, "That creek really lowers the tone of the neighborhood. Don't you think?" I laughed and told her, "Nature's been here longer than your HOA." She didn't laugh back. Instead, she gave me the look I'd come to know too well. Pursed lips, narrowed eyes, clipboard hugged tight. That look meant war. Soon the letters came. Notice of environmental hazard, notice of safety violation. Apparently my little stream was guilty of crimes ranging from mosquito breeding to auditory disturbance from uncontrolled water flow. I half expected the next one to accuse it of tax evasion. I ignored them at first, then got sarcastic, but Karen was relentless. She organized inspections right in my backyard, pointed dramatically at floating leaves like she was investigating a murder scene. She whispered to me as she left, "The HOA always wins." And damn it, the way she said it, I almost believed her. I kept telling myself it's just noise, just power games. But deep down I knew people like Karen don't stop. They escalate. And one morning I heard the rumble of engines. I ran outside, half-dressed, toothpaste still foaming at my mouth, and there they were, bulldozers, dump trucks, cones, the whole circus. At the center, Karen in a neon vest and oversized sunglasses, barking orders like she was leading a parade. I yelled, "What the hell is this?" She smirked, waved her clipboard, and shouted, "Community improvement, sanctioned by the board." Then I watched as the first cascade of gravel thundered into my creek. It sounded like a burial. Fish flopped helplessly, water frothed and gasped, and in minutes the gurgle that had been my peace was silenced. Neighbors clapped some, cheered one kid, even shouted, "Dig it up, Karen!" I recorded everything on my phone, screaming into the camera about illegal destruction permits, trespassing. Karen leaned into the frame, grinning, and said, "Go ahead. Post it online. The board stands by me." That night the silence in my yard was unbearable. No frogs, no trickle, no life, just gravel and dead air. I sat on my porch with a beer, staring at the scar where my creek had been, and for the first time since moving in, I wondered if I'd made a mistake buying this house. Maybe Karen was right. Maybe fighting her wasn't worth it. Maybe selling and walking away would be easier. I actually thought about giving up. But then the consequences came knocking. The grass by my fence turned brittle overnight. A neighbor's sprinklers sputtered to nothing. The community fountain at the entrance coughed like a dying animal. Facebook posts popped up. "Anyone else's water pressure low? My lawn's dying, what's going on?" Karen sent out emails blaming temporary infrastructure issues, telling everyone to stay calm. But I knew. That creek wasn't just mine. It was feeding the HOA's irrigation system. She hadn't just buried a stream, she'd buried her own lifeline. I drove to the county courthouse, flipped through old maps, old permits, and there it was in black and white. The creek had been engineered into the subdivision's stormwater system, designed to funnel into the retention pond that supplied every sprinkler, every fountain, every blade of green in Maplewood Estates. Karen had killed her own empire with her vanity project. I could have shouted it right then, but I didn't. Timing matters. I wanted the neighborhood to feel it first. Lawns turning yellow flowers, withering fountains drying up. I wanted Karen cornered before I dropped the truth. And it didn't take long. Within a week, complaints exploded. Bills for water tankers soared. Fees spiked. People started whispering, glaring at Karen when she strutted by with her little dog, and I sat back, patient, red folder of documents ready. The breaking point came at a packed HOA meeting. The air was hot, neighbors furious, waving dead plants like protest signs. "My water bill tripled," one man yelled. "Who's paying me back?" Karen stood at the podium, smiling so tight it looked painful. "Neighbors, please, the board is handling it," she said, voice trembling. That's when I stood, raised the city's warning letter high, and said, "Funny the city doesn't think you're handling anything." The room fell silent. For the first time, Karen froze, and I saw fear in her eyes. A week later, I made my move. Another emergency meeting, this one even louder, angrier. Karen blamed infrastructure, blamed climate, even accused me of sabotage. I walked forward, laid the county maps on the table, and said loud enough for everyone, "This creek you buried wasn't a hazard. It was your water system. You killed it." Gasps, shouting, chaos. Neighbors turned on her like wolves. "She cut off our water. We paid for this mess." Karen slammed the table, shrieking, "The HOA always wins." But the spell was broken. No one nodded anymore. They glared, they shouted, and they demanded her head. The vote happened right there. A neighbor stood, voice shaking with anger. I motioned to remove Karen Mitchell as HOA president. Seconds echoed around the room. Hands went up one after another. Unanimous, swift, brutal. Karen's face drained of color. "You can't do this." "I am the HOA," she screamed, clutching her clipboard like a shield. But the gavel came down. Motion passed. Effective immediately, she was gone. Karen stormed out of the clubhouse, dragging her yapping dog, shrieking about ungrateful fools, but nobody followed. Nobody cared. Her reign was over. The queen of clipboards had buried herself under the same gravel she'd poured into my backyard. And me, I didn't smile, I didn't celebrate. I just stood there, finally breathing easy, knowing justice had landed exactly where it belonged. Because the truth is simple: if you try to strangle nature or people or truth itself, you don't win. You bury yourself.